Welcome to the first Android Developer Office Hours of the new year. Happy New Year, Bonne année, Bon Anno, Froz Neues Jahre, Feliz Anno Nuevo, and any other, or maybe Dutch. Johan, can you jump in with a Dutch Happy New Year for us?
Gelukkig nieuwjaar allemaal.
Gelukkig New Year to you too as well. So Happy New Android Year kicked off by CES. As you may notice, we're joined by Chris Baines in the Android studio today.
Ta-da!
Because he's the newest member of the Android Developer Relations team.
Yay!
Welcome, Chris.
Welcome, Chris.
And we've got Sparky with us. Hey, Sparky.
I'm here, yes. I'm here largely to acknowledge my departure, since I am moving out of Android Developer Relations and into internal Google projects. I'll be doing much the same thing as I did before, but for inward-facing stuff rather than external.
I hope that works out very well. I'm sure we'll still see you in the Android scene and around Sparky. And of course, Nick Butcher as well. Hey, Nick.
Hi. Happy New Year, everyone.
So it's been kicked off the new year with CES. I guess we've seen lots and lots of new Android stories. Have you got any favourites from over there in the London office?
It seems to be the big CES of big phones, so lots of 1080p, 5-inch, 6-inch devices.
Can we call it a phone if it's 6 inches?
Phablet, maybe.
Oh, I hate that word.
Yeah, it's a bad word.
Right. Vizio, is that who made that?
Vizio, ZTE, Xperia, Sony, Lenovo, they're all up there.
Okay.
It seems like 1080p is the new, table stakes resolution. When you read a review of a phone, it says, 720p screen, you go, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I just want 1080p at 4.7 inches. I really don't want to stretch to that 5 inches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kind of weird because previously with the 720p, you kind of had that at tablet, and then phones caught up. Whereas now, it's kind of tablets. Phones have gone 1080p, but tablets haven't quite got there yet. Obviously, you got the Nexus 10, but most tablets are still at sort of 1280.
Yeah, funny enough, I saw one this morning on The Verge that was 1920 by 1200, so gone past 1080p, a 7-inch.
Oh, nice.
So maybe that's what the 7 inches are going to settle on, and the 10 inches will be 1080p.
I think 2560 is where it's at for tablets now. So, what can I say? I'm spoiled.
That's your New Year's resolution. Get it?
Right, it's a good point. With the Tegra 4, the quad-core A15, and the new Snapdragons, the S800, S600, and all those chips coming out in the next few months, we could definitely be seeing those high resolutions getting pushed around. Hey, Yossi.
Gigahertz.
Hi, guys.
That said, I do have to acknowledge that Santa Claus was very, very busy hauling around Nexus 7s in my family.
Mine too. Definitely. Nexus 7 popular gift this year.
I think one of my standouts from CES I've seen is Vizio and some other manufacturers seem to be backing off their OEM customizations and kind of like recognizing that stock Android has got to a point where it's a fantastic experience, and you don't need to put layers on top of it. It just slows down upgrade cycles and so forth. So for me, I think that's a wonderful sign. I think we're really rounding a corner.
Yeah, that is excellent news, isn't it? I was hoping to see more of that.
Awesome.
And goodbye to Cupcake. That's the Android dashboard updated last week, and Cupcake has fallen off the bottom. I assume that means it's less than half of 0.1% or something. So small. Sorry?
And 40% of users are on ice cream sandwich and above, right?
Yeah, over 40%, 41 on. And most of that, is ice cream sandwich.
Given that Cupcake had some noteworthy security problems, and even the G1 was upgradable to Donut, I never wanted anyone to support Cupcake anyhow. So, yeah.
Okay. Just having browser issues.
And unfortunately, Matt's not here because he's at CES, lucky guy. He's probably asleep right now. But there's a few new announcements on GTV front as well. So the Asus device and a new Hisense device, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
The Cube looks good. The Asus one. Looks a very nice device. Very home-orientated. That's good. The other big thing is NVIDIA's Project Shield, the new game controller device.
Yeah, of course. Anyone excited?
That was real cool to see.
you see it said it's going to get 24 hours of HD playback, video playback. That's got to be a good sign for the Tegra 4, I hope. Like that it's rocking I think, didn't they say it's a new 28 nanometer processor architecture? Yeah.
I suppose in a controller you can keep a bigger battery anyway.
Yeah, I guess so.
So that might be why. It's also not it's not a big screen. It's like 4 inches.
No. Yeah, it's still a big screen for a controller you just put on your hand. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But they're just going to use that increased efficiency just to give you a smaller battery in shipping devices.
Yeah, probably. But it's a good thing, right? I guess they're all having the 4+1 cores now as well, aren't they? So they're having the low-powered core, which ticks over when you're not really taxing it, and then spins up the high-performance one. So, yeah, I think I'd like to see more focus on battery life this year.
Absolutely. And what else was it? It wasn't just the... I can't remember what I was going to say. Just skip that one. Sorry?
That's hardware, right? At CES. So on the Android developer, like kind of on the software side of things, we had an exciting blog post yesterday talking about some new authentication steps you can do.
Yeah, you can use GMS Core to authenticate against your own backend servers now.
Yeah, exactly.
Endpoints, things like that. I haven't delved into it myself yet, but
I'm pretty excited about it. I think, it relieves the need to handle things like usernames and passwords in your app and still be kind of sure of who you're talking to. So I think this is really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's a nice way of doing it, because having to get used to register and log in, it's just disrupts the user flow. So anything to make apps as seamless as possible is always a good thing.
Is there a demo app for that? To see the flow and stuff like that, or is it just a blog post?
It's a blog post, but it goes through the whole flow. It's using the Google Play services.
Oh, I'll look it up later.
Yeah, it's on Google Plus and on the blog site.
Yeah, top of the blog right now.
okay. Welcome Giuseppe as well from Italy.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And Lucas as well. Hey there, Happy New Year, Lucas. Okay, does anyone in the Hangout have a question before we jump into the 14 questions we have lined up in the moderator for today? I wonder if Andrew Kelly put all of them in.
Not all, but maybe a third.
Okay.
I've posed a question in the moderator, guys. I've ran into an issue where my app is causing a force close on a Sony Xperia device, and it turns out the Sony Xperia framework is referring to a resource ID, which I have also defined in my app. So it looks like it's I don't know, using an app resource ID or something. Have you encountered such things where device frameworks?
Clashes.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's a very large pool of resource IDs, and the chances of them clashing are very small. But I guess it is possible that they could clash. I mean, they are generated at random in the resources r.java file, right?
Yeah, but in this case, it's for setting the fast scroll thumb drawable, which apparently Sony is using its own skin or theme or whatever. But still, I've read a post by Diane Heckborn, which states the what's it called, the 7F, the first two hex numbers in the resource identifier are for apps only. So is it then a bug by Sony using, I don't know, hard-coded resource identifiers, or how did it get generated into their framework? Or has anybody encountered that with other OSs? Or
I haven't, no, but if Sony are building on top of the Android framework and putting their own apps in, maybe they're not using the reserved resource IDs for their own apps.
oh, okay, that could be.
I think you can do a workaround by using public and IDs XMLs,
Yeah,
and
okay.
generate your own IDs and set the IDs and the XML to be sequentially added. And I think that should do a workaround on all devices. Because on the public XML you can define IDs you want to expose. And if you want to expose them, then the system generates different linkage or something. I'm not sure where it is. I just read about it a few years ago. So.
I think I saw a blog post about this. Were you saying it was only happening when they introduced Action Bar Sherlock into it?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's the.
Well, that makes me think it's something to do with the theme, perhaps, like because if you're using these Sherlock themes, then they may be trying to theme some of the attributes, and if they're just trying to alias them to underlying resources, and Sony's changed something, then there may be.
Yeah, but there's blog posting about that as well, and then you have to move that specific attribute or that style attribute to a values-v11 resource folder, and then I think you're out of the loop. Not clashing those on older Android OS devices. So I'm not sure if it's Action Bar Sherlock specific, because in my view it's a Sony framework resource. It's apps list view, so it could be in their framework or it could be in their app, like Rich was saying, in one of their apps. I don't know. So yeah, it pops up with Action Bar Sherlock. That's definitely true, Nick. But I'm not sure if that is the real issue here.
All right, sounds very bad. If it is a resource that you can use inside your application that they're providing,
yeah,
it's terrible for them to use a 7F ID for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Asking for a clash, right?
Yeah.
Maybe just email me the details of it. I know that Diane knows about it now as well.
Yeah.
But we'll see if we can send it off to our Sony partner manager and see what happens.
Okay, we'll do.
You never know. Do you know which device it was on?
Yeah.
Is it a new firmware or old firmware?
Old firmware, 2.3.4.
Okay. Maybe it's already been reported and fixed, but.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. But then you still have to have workarounds for this particular device.
Crazy case.
Affecting like all Sony devices. So now.
Well,
okay, that's true. Okay, curious. Okay, thanks, guys.
But it'd be good to find out the details because it could affect everyone. Looks. Oh, are Nick and Chris live or frozen? Alive.
Yeah, we're back. We dropped out, but we're back.
Okay. Okay. Any other? Go on.
Oh, I have one person muted. Okay. Oops.
Any other questions from the Hangout, or should we jump into this moderator? Sounds like we're going to jump into the moderator.
You sort of already did, because Johan's question was one of our moderator questions.
Absolutely. It's always nice when people come in. When people who are going to ask questions in the Hangout put them in the moderator first, though, so we get a chance to pre-read them. Not that I did. Okay. It looks like you've already had a look through some of these, Sparky. Do you want to jump on one?
Oh, I could. I didn't have much to say about this first one. Jamie says, when using a multi-auto text view, I process the list when user selects an item by clicking, but I also want to detect new items added manually once not on the list and do the same process. As it's one words when user press space or punctuation, etc. He goes on to say, I used on-key listener, but this only works with Android IME options set to something, which is annoying, as in landscape on smaller devices. It fills the screen, gives a button. I either want to stop it filling the screen or not have it be set. Am I doing it completely wrong? Yeah, I don't have a lot to contribute on that one. I don't have experience with that particular control. So. But any of you guys work with multi-auto text view before?
I have, but I'm trying to work out what he's trying to do. Yeah. I might skip that one and do it after. I'll have another read through.
Yeah. Well, we can always come back to that one later.
I mean, the IME always fills the screen in landscape mode, right? That's just the default behavior.
You can override it though, from what I remember.
You can indeed override it, yeah, and use your own custom one, but...
Yeah. Well, here's an easy one. Shabana from Egypt says, are there any news regarding augmented reality APIs for Android camera? I know of some third-party augmented reality APIs. Most of the augmented reality stacks, have one. Like Junio's got one, and I think Layer's got one, and Wikitude. But I don't know of any actually from Android itself.
Yeah, Qualcomm was
that's definitely in the kind of in the developer space. I wouldn't expect to see us do something like that.
Yeah.
Put it past us at some point in the future. I mean, it just sort of, taking off my knows anything hat and putting on my wild speculation hat, I'm thinking that some sort of AR would probably have to go with Google Glass. Otherwise, what good would it be for?
Maybe, but maybe they would also use AR Toolkit or something. I mean, we could divert the entire Android engineering team resources to building an AR library if we wanted, but there's some excellent ones out there already that many apps and games have been built on top of, and professional software. So yeah, just have a search for it, hit up AR Toolkit or something. It's a complex area to be delving into.
Yeah, and of course, there's many different kinds of AR too, right? I mean, there's real-world stuff overlaid on top of video, but then there's also like actually looking at codes and specific recognized items. So there's like the geo stuff, and then there's also the image processing stuff. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, Andrew Kelly's put quite a good question in, saying with fragments, what's the correct way to move from one to another, as in 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and then for a data entry, and then the fourth fragment, by pressing back, you want to go back to the start rather than going back for the fragments. So that's like a wizard type thing. The best way to do that, I'd say, is each time you add a fragment, is add a backstack ID. So usually you add an ID, so I don't know, you can be any string you want really. And then when the user does press back, it's probably better to have a button actually saying finished. And then when they press finish, you can call, what's that called?
Yeah, fragment manager.
Yeah.
Restore something.
I can't remember. There's a method call which takes you back to that particular ID. So you remove all the fragments from the back stack and you go back to the original ID. You can also do it with the back button by not adding add to back stack when you add a fragment. So yeah.
Although I'm not entirely sure if I agree with that user flow. I mean, I sort of think, either you go with the paradigm that says fragments don't do backstack, say, like you're reading through your emails, if you have a navigation pane and a detail pane, usually you don't stick those on the backstack, or they do, in which case maybe it should go backwards through the sequence of input dialogues or whatever. I don't really agree with changing the behavior just because the user's completed all the input. I would usually interpret the back button in an input scenario like that as saying cancel, forget it all. Either meaning go back and correct the previous page, or I suppose just wipe the whole mess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really liking changing it just because it's on the last page.
Personally, if I was going to do a wizard flow, I'd use Roman's wizard sample, and just use that because he's put a lot of effort into making a wizard flow that looks nice and works well, and you can go through stage by stage without being able to skip stages and all that good stuff. So I'd probably just let Roman do the work and go and grab his wizard flow sample.
All right, +1 for not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, that's at code.google.com/p/Roman-Urich-code.
I just wanted to add something about what Sparky said about the flow for the fragments and don't use the backstack or everything. If we want to show the user a tutorial and we want him to go back to the main screen of the app, then that's the best use case for not using the backstack or overriding the simple behavior for the backstack for fragments.
Yeah, back does seem to be sort of the obvious control to use for closing out a tutorial. Either that, or maybe the up chevron.
I'd want an explicit skip button in any tutorial.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. Although I don't know. I'm actually pretty okay with using back to just close out a tutorial. I don't feel the need for a skip button there. But
I don't know. I feel like if I haven't seen it, if it's the first thing I see when I launch the app, it feels like back would close the app to me.
You don't know something's behind it.
Yeah.
No, but I think the best use case is what Sparky said, that back from the first screen of the tutorial goes puts you back into the main screen of the app.
But only if you've showed the user the main bit of the app first. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they don't know what's behind the tutorial.
Right.
No, I agree.
So the best use case to show a tutorial, then I'll do something like first screen the user will see is the tutorial screen, and instead of a skip, the home navigation will get you back to the main screen of the app from any screen you're in the tutorial. Say you have 8 screens for the tutorial. Every time you press on the home navigation, you go back to the home screen for the app.
Yeah, I'm fine with the back button taking closing the tutorial and taking you back to the launch screen of the app. I think it should do that, in fact. But I also would like a skip button, just because, yeah, it's non-obvious. There's no obvious avoidance for going back, right?
I could see how maybe this is a case where you want a different behavior for your tablet and your phone UI. Your phone UI fills the whole screen, in which case maybe having a skip button is the obvious thing to do. But if you have a tablet UI, maybe your tutorial is just a little inset dialogue, in which case it's obvious that there's an app behind there, and then back could just dismiss it.
That works.
Sounds good.
That's nice.
Cool. All right. Should we go to the next question in the moderator? Renier, I guess I'm probably not saying that right, is asking if there's any pointers for implementing a chips type UI on pre-ICS devices, and are there any proper libraries available? So the chips UI, I guess, is the UI we use in Gmail and messaging and so forth, so that as you enter a recipient's name and then you kind of pick one from the list, it turns it into a nice little box with their name and a little avatar on them. It's quite a nice little UI to echo that they've understood what you meant. And to that end, I would say probably look into the SMS application, mms.git, which is open source. So that's going to be probably your best bet. He explicitly asked about pre-ICS, so I'm wondering if there's anything there that's dependent on it. I'm not sure. I'd have to have a look to see if it's got any dependencies on newer stuff. Anyone know of any other sample code?
Can't think of anything.
There's a nice answer in there as well. Someone's it's himself. He's saying he's started creating his own one. But I guess he's wondering if there's any kind of better sample code. But yeah, I'll take a look at the MMS app. No one else got any experience here?
Cool. He looks like he's on the right track anyway, because he's
Yeah.
using autocomplete text view, which is what you'll more than likely need. So.
That's what I'd do. Right then. Any other questions live from the room? We've got any new joiners.
That's Renier.
There you are. Is that Renier? Yeah, it's your question. Hi, welcome. Have you had a look at the MMS app?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay.
But I did
Yeah, take a look at that.
it works fairly well. It's a bit messy, but it works. I mean, we use low-powered devices, low CPU spec, low RAM spec, the Qualcomm reference design devices, so it needs to be as lightweight as possible. And I mean, this one works well. So.
Yeah, well, it sounds like from your description, it sounds like you're absolutely on the right track. Cool. All right then.
I just saw
Go ahead.
one. Sorry. Yeah,
Go
I was going to say, just going on to the next question in the moderator. Just saw a question in the moderator that says that if you do calendar.get instance and get year on it, it's returning 2012 if you're on Android 4.1.2 and 2013 if you're on Android 4.2, which is crazy. Obviously, you have no idea why, but it should definitely be raised as a bug if it is true with repro steps. And more details. Maybe are you running one on an emulator and one on a device, and maybe the clock is set wrong on one of them? I don't know. The clock on an emulator, maybe. But it seems a very strange. I would have thought we'd have heard about it if it was always the case that the calendar classes in Android were returning the wrong year on 4.1. Anybody heard anything about that before?
Days are hard.
Then again, if you told me that we were missing December last year, I'd have laughed. So hey. Definitely check the bug tracker. This is from Etienne, and I might actually go and try it myself because that's just crazy if it's true.
He says both are on a device. Does it?
Oh yeah, he's commented on his own thing saying both are on a device. And the clock's set right on the device on both of them?
Hmm.
You didn't run one of them last year, did you? One of them this year. Okay.
Maybe a different time zone?
Yeah, if it was very close to the new year when he was doing it, maybe.
Etienne, this sounds familiar. I think this is someone we've heard from before.
Date get year returns a value that is a result of subtracting 1900 from the year that contains or begins with the instant in time represented by this date object as interpreted in the local time zone. This is deprecated for a good reason.
Y2K again?
Thanks for the rapid response. So maybe actually this is a known issue and you shouldn't be using. I think it's documented in Java docs. In JDK 6 is Java doc, but I can't see the same documentation in the Android docs.
Or in JD.
I wonder. Weird.
Johan needs coffee.
Some of the values return a zero index and some are actual values.
Yeah.
So month is zero indexed, you might remember, so it's day, the day of month. But year isn't. It's a bit of a weird one.
It's horrible, guys.
It's better than date. Date's a horrible one.
Alright, anything else from inside the Hangout?
Yeah, can I send you a little YouTube video to see for a second?
Yeah, put it in the group chat. Go for it.
Yeah.
Is this like kittens or something, or Gangnam Style?
No. No, it's a question. I think it's a good. It's a
What's
good way
that?
to.
Okay, you've got a
Yeah.
sidebar representation sliding in and out,
Yeah. The sliding menus to show that you have swiping.
like a tutorial.
Yeah. What do you think about it? This is a good way to persuade users to use the sliding menu or use the slide or swipe feature?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them now actually, which on first run of the application, they force that slide just to show the user that it's there. Maybe our UI designer can comment on that. Can you see the video, Nick?
Yeah, we're just looking at it now, so you have a little hint, right? So
Oh,
it
yeah.
just says, come on, click me.
Nice that the action bar's there. It doesn't move and it's all very smooth anyway.
Yeah. I think
I like that.
first of all, I love the app.
Everyone mute Etienne.
Oh, we have Etienne in the Hangout. Did we just talk about your question?
Actually, yeah, you did. You just did. I don't know if we got a response though.
This is the calendar bug issue, or
Yeah, it's a calendar bug.
Yeah, we have no idea. We'd have to go and try and repro it, I guess.
Sure. How do I go about that? Like, if I'm filing a bug?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to b.android.com, and all the steps are right there.
Okay. Yeah, I've never done it before.
Yeah, the key is just to have like a super simple test case that we can use to replicate it.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking because you said check the set time on the Nexus S, and I don't know where to see potentially the date, and the date's set to the current date, January 9th of this year.
But you're not sure what the year's set to? Or?
Well, I would believe it's set to the current year, but there's
you-
nothing to suggest that it's.
If you go into
2012.
menu, settings,
Says
and then
date.
date and time, it's worth double checking before raising the bug.
Yeah, date and time.
You don't know how much I hope this is going to say 2012.
Mm-hmm.
1992.
That's strange. I guess my date was set to 2012. That's strange.
Excellent.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Nice.
Wow.
It could have something to do with haven't I took the SIM card out and placed it into my Nexus 4 because I just got it.
Uh-huh.
So that could be the issue. It's not
Not
the
picking
time
up
isn't
at work
synced up
time. Or...
because of the SIM card being removed.
Strange is set the right day and month, but not the right year.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
you if you set the if you check the automatic network update time and you log into Wi-Fi or something, then it goes to the time servers and updates the according to the time zone.
Yeah, I think I'm testing on a device that's without a SIM card, so it's kind of not really a real scenario. So I guess I shouldn't
Cool.
account for that.
All right,
But
awesome. We
thanks.
should go back to Yossi's question because we kind of
Yes,
interrupted
absolutely.
halfway through. So your question was basically, is it cool to use some kind of animation to hint at how you interact?
Yes.
So when you envision like showing that, like just on first run, or
No, basically on two occasions. On first run, because we're going to do a UI change, and if we want, the example I posted was specific for swiping, but I'm talking generally on all the swiping, double tapping, you name it, whatever gesture you want us to do on your app. I'm talking about making a simple 2 seconds demo of the gesture and showing that to the user as here you can click on me, here you can scratch me, here you can kick me, I don't know, whatever.
yeah, generally I'm okay with using some kind of animation as an affordance, essentially, like to kind of say this is how you interact with me. I think what you need to be wary of is getting annoying. So like, showing it every time might become annoying. Like
Yeah,
I saw some iterations of the YouTube application, for example, when they moved to the sliding draw, similar to this application, it used to kind of open with that and then the main UI would fold in, just hinted it. And we played around some iterations of that, and I think it was decided that it was just unnecessary, that the sliding in menu is becoming a well-known pattern now, and that it was an unnecessary kind of like road bump to go over in order to get to what you really wanted, which was the content. I think as these interactions become more and more popular, some of the top applications out there are using it, like YouTube, G+, Facebook, and things like this, are using these kind of slidey menus, some with bezel swipe, some without. That people are getting used to it, and yeah, it becomes unnecessary. But yeah, generally, if you have gestures are hard, that there aren't any natural kind of way to hint it that it's available, that you do need to provide either some tutorial or some way to bootstrap the user's mental model, really. So yeah, I'm cool with that, as long as you kind of try to, only show it at first a couple of times or something like that.
some apps basically use overlay on the layout with some arrows and pointers and text, and I think I prefer this way. The user sees the real interaction with the UI instead of an image showing with text and stuff.
I think it totally depends on the interaction. So for something where you have to swipe, showing the user is probably better. There's a good library called Showcase View, which is based off the launchers.
Cling,
Yeah.
So that's pretty
familiar
good
with that
with buttons and something you have to click. So yeah. I personally like showing the user small interactions. So in some of the personal sort of open source libraries I write, I always add an easy way for the developer to show a demo. So yeah, I personally like it.
This is actually, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is actually one of the reasons I don't, I'm not entirely convinced about this pattern. Because it leads to trial and error in general. Like you have to suppose that there are lots of top apps using it, but then you always wonder if it's there or not. So we'll always have to do something like this: show the user that it's there, and then you do it. So this is one of the reasons I didn't like the menu button approach from previous Android releases, because some apps just the hardware button. Some apps just didn't have it, right? So you have to try to see if there's something there.
Yeah.
And for any pattern that you have to try to see if it's there, it just, I don't know, it's a sign that there's something that needs to be improved. Either like a standard hint that it's there, like the app menu, it's the 3-dot thing. It's there, you click, you see something. If it's not there, there's no option. But with sliding menus, you have to try, or you have to give a hint. It's just a sign that there's something that is not, ready yet. I don't know.
No, on your action bar, you can on the top you can say that if you have an up error or maybe a change of the home logo, then you have a sliding menu.
No, but yeah, maybe if we changed the icon or the indicator, it's just that I think it's abusing the standard behavior, because right now it's going up in the hierarchy, right? And you might argue that sliding in menu is the upper or the top level node in our hierarchy, but it's not really, is it?
No, but I've started. But then when people do a slide-in menu from the left and from the right, you can get somewhat tricky.
Doesn't the design site say that the slide-in menu can only be at the top level?
Yeah, it's like an activity group of some sort, because you can refer to it as the main holder for all as the root holder for all the other actions you can do on your application.
Yeah. And the other thing I kind of dislike about it is when you have such a big space for options, I think people will tend to overload in terms of options. So you just have too many nodes in your hierarchy just because you have space for it, right? And you see, if you see things like Facebook, it has huge thing. Google Plus has uses it in a kind of a smarter way because it uses the space for showing more notifications, so that's fine. But still, it's tempting because you have this huge infinite vertical space for adding options. And in the case of mobile apps, I don't think that's a good thing to do. So I don't know. Constraints are a good thing on mobile in general, I think. So.
Yeah, we dropped out, so we might miss some of the conversation, but we're back now. I think two things I wanted to add to that. Firstly, I think it's the gesture is kind of like a power user thing. That's how I think of it. I think you need to have some on-screen affordance, like you're saying, that you can't have this kind of you have to try it and see. I think you need to have some on-screen affordance. So our preference would be to use the up caret to disclose it. That's our guidelines. Some people use the burger menu, which is gaining some traction as well. But yeah, I very much see the bezel swipe or the swiping as a secondary way of launching. So in that way, I'm not so bothered if people don't know about it, because it's more about, once you hit the menu, the primary way of opening it, the button, and you see it slide out, that is your hint, that is your animation, right? That's the cue that this thing moves that way. And if you swipe it and discover it, that you can do it with your finger rather than hitting the button, then that's like a power user bonus in a way. As long as there is one obvious on-screen button, which is like the default way to open it, I think that's the most important thing. And the second thing I'd say, like I was going to say, is about the dumping ground. I very much prefer if the slide-in menu just is used for navigation. I see it as a an alternative to like the drop-down navigation you might see on Google Maps, or if there's more tabs than you might want to have on screen. I see it as a direct replacement for that. I'd rather not see it combined with actions. So like some people start putting extra things in there, and I think in a way G+'s notifications almost fall into that bucket for me. That I'd rather see it just about a navigation thing rather than trying to oh, I've got some extra space, I'll dump some extra stuff in there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'd prefer if the Google Plus version showed just your unread notifications rather than all of them, and then if you clicked on any notification, it'll take you to a list. So that would be the way I'd do it if I was the developer. But yeah.
And teasing Google Plus aside, empty space is important for layout.
Yeah. But going back to what you said about dumping ground, surely that's an app developer. Surely that's up to the app developer to make their app as cognitively easy to use as possible. So you should design your app so it has
structure.
Yeah, well, structure. Yeah, 3 or 4 or less main sections to your app, and the user can then delve deeper if they want to. So that's up to the app developer to do that. It's just
I think the problem is when you get to apps like Facebook and Google Plus, they're such huge apps, right? They're basically like an OS in a way, right? They offer so many functions. There are messaging, there's like news feeds, there's photos, there's communities. There's so much going on.
There's a reason why Facebook is kind of splitting their app into different functions, right? The camera, messenger, and all that. And I think that's probably the right approach. I wouldn't do like this huge thing in one place.
What I've got from Facebook is that the reason they've got separate apps is so they can test stuff out on users. So Messenger, all the stuff that's in Messenger has been backported to the Facebook app. So it's the same code base now in the actual Facebook app for messages as it is for Messenger. Same with the sort of camera stuff. So I do agree with you. I think with Facebook they have overloaded the sliding menu in that they have got all these separate sections, but
multiple layers, right? You can go back within the sliding menu, right?
Yeah, but they've also got, say, you got groups, and then you got a sub-list of your groups. Whereas for me, it should be just one group item where you can click and then delve in. So yeah.
Okay, maybe we should take one from the G+ stream now then, instead of from the Hangout or the moderator.
Yeah.
Alessandro Capra is asking, I've made an application which is a music quiz. Nice. And it requires registration from the user with username and password and other details. Should I provide a privacy policy? And the answer is yes. Yes, you should. Developer distribution agreement in section 4.3 says that if users are providing you or your product with access to username, details, products, email addresses, personal information, then you must make the users aware that the information will be available to your product, and you must provide a legally adequate privacy notice and protection for those users. So if you don't put a privacy policy in, and you are requesting personal details, then it may be grounds to get your application suspended from the Play Store. You'll be violating the DDA if you don't. So definitely, please do put a privacy policy in if you're requesting personal information. Also, there's a slot in the developer console at the bottom of your store listing where you can link to your privacy policy online, so users can see it before they've gone and downloaded the application and installed it and given you some of their details, because you may be getting some details off the handset automatically. So it's quite good if you can put the link into the privacy policy. I know that the latest version 2 of the publisher site doesn't let you publish your app until you've either put a privacy policy in or explicitly told the system that you're not going to have one. So it became mandatory to do the flag one way or the other in the latest version. Hopefully that answers your question, Alessandro.
Looks like Giuseppe's got a question.
Has Giuseppe got a question, or is he on a phone call?
He's got a question, apparently.
Giuseppe?
Yes. Here. Okay. Well, I have a question about the in-app billing version number 3. and especially about the local caching, okay? I would like to understand how this local caching work. If the local caching mean that the information about the purchases are writing inside some database or inside some other protection mode, because in the documentation I didn't find nothing about that. The questions is because I want to understand what happened exactly when, for example, an user buy some item using the in-app system, and after we make the refund to the users for any reason, and I want to like to know if the local caching will take in count that the purchase has been refunded, and then will be not useful anymore for the application.
How do you mean refund it in that purchase? You mean through check?
I mean, for example, that the user write to us and ask for the refund, not that he can make the refund himself, because this is not possible as everybody.
Exactly, right. I don't think the in-app billing API has a concept of refunding, so I doubt
I don't think it does either, no. I agree. So if you choose to refund an in-app billing item, then they still own it. You've just given them their money back.
So when I will use the method get purchases, the purchases will be not refreshed in the local history.
No, I think the user will still own that item that they purchased through in-app billing, but I will have a look just in case.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
On the documentation, I didn't find any useful about this.
Yeah, I don't think caching changes anything here. I think even without the caching, if you refresh it from the server, it will still say yes, the user does purchase this item.
Sure.
I don't think there's a back. Like I say, I don't think the in-app purchase API has any concept of refund.
Slightly contrary to that, the documentation does say that in-app billing doesn't allow users to request refunds, but if you refund them through Google Checkout, Google Play receives a refund notification from Checkout and sends a refund notification to the application.
Oh.
In which case, as long as the device is connected to the network, the local cache will be updated straight away, and your application will receive the refund notification.
That's very good. And do you know, Richard, if the local caching is maintained by some SQLite database or any way?
I don't know where they keep the data. I don't know.
Okay. Because I'm thinking if we have just to combat against the LVL license crackers, or we have also to combat against the people that will try to write some rove inside the database, you know?
If it is a database, my guess is it's quite well encrypted. I doubt there's anything on there that's easy to attack or, you know. I wouldn't be worried about our side of it. I just put a link in the chat window as well to handling refunds, and that then links off and shows you the flow.
What exactly is the reason why the in-app items are not refundable? Why Google decided
because the user may have already spent it. They may be buying calling credit, things like that, on your in-app billing, and then they may make the phone call and then refund the credit. If we had a 15-minute refund window, they could totally abuse that for in-app billing, because we don't know what they've just purchased from you, and whether if they can consume it in the first 15 minutes and then refund it, they could just continue doing that and have infinite free service on your service.
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, app developers expect it with applications for that first 15 minutes, but for in-app billing, we don't know what you've just sold, so it's not reasonable.
Cool. All right, we've got 10 minutes to go. Should we go back to the moderator and pick up any more questions? Who's got the moderator to hand? Do you want to read on that? That's gone. All right then. Dave S. in London says, I'm working on improving the testing of my apps. Right now I test on a few devices that run using Monkey. I started adding some unit tests as well, but not sure how far to go with them. Are there any other good testing methods? Please go. How did you test Fancaster?
See, this isn't a very good answer, but we didn't as such. Well, I did. I spent a lot of time using it, so that was my main test, and I used it a hell of a lot. So, but in terms of formal testing, there wasn't a whole lot done, just because it was me by myself, and it was just kind of I'd spent more time developing than testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my answer was sorry.
No, that was about it really. We did a bit of monkey stuff because it's easy and cheap to do. Unit testing. Unit testing is quite hard. Well, it's hard to do anyway, but you can only really do proper unit testing on sort of utility classes because they're the easiest to do. If you want to start doing UI testing, it comes very hard very quickly.
Mm-hmm. So there's the UI automator tool now, which has been launched, which is an interesting tool. It also helps you make sure you add all your content descriptions and stuff, which is a good thing. Johan, any other advice on testing tools? I know you're a fan of these.
No. No, I find it difficult as well. I'm currently writing an app using a network, and it needs a server, and I'm kind of how do you say it? Dependent on that server, and so on. I'm not using Robo or WhatsApp. Yeah.
Yeah, Etienne is just linked to
unit testing. I use unit testing a lot, but I'm not into user interface automatic testing yet for this app.
Yeah, there's services out there as well. Testroid and other such cloud services where you can record scripts and send them up and get all the results back again. If it's a personal project, I test on an HTC Desire, the Nexus 4, 7, and 10. And if it works on those, I just put it out there along with a link to the bug tracker and hope that people file bugs before I make it live.
Did everyone see the blog post yesterday by Android developers saying if you've got a Nexus 10 or other high-res device, you can call a couple of ADB commands and you can emulate, well, pretty much any device specification in terms of display.
Yeah, basically, if you own the highest resolution device that's available, then you can test every single resolution.
Yeah. Pretty handy.
No, it's not just for the Nexus 10, it's for whatever the highest resolution device is at any time. But the Nexus devices, the Nexus 7 allows you to run the same ADB commands. The Motorola Zoom did as well. I'm not sure if there's yet. I've never tried it on a Nexus 4. I guess it does as well, though.
Yeah, it will.
That you can set the resolution to anything smaller than the maximum, the native resolution.
You can set the screen size as well, so you can change it whether it's normal, large, extra large. Obviously, device can use it.
Once upon a time, didn't it require root to use that command? A few versions back?
What, ADB?
But
ADB runs fine as your normal user.
yeah, not ADB, but specifically the display emulation.
I have a question. Have you guys played around with the overdraw? It's part of the, and I guess the newest Jelly Bean. If you go to developer settings,
I left it on for a week once. It's really like interesting. You leave it on for a while and see what apps are doing.
Yeah, I noticed you're allowed to, I think, select a app to debug, but you can't select any app. It's only a certain list of apps. Anyway, I turned it on, and I was noticing it was displaying the overdraw, but to disable it, I turned it off, and it looked like it was still displaying on not only the app I set, but some other apps. The only way to get rid of it was to turn off the device.
No.
And then
basically the setting, if you have overdraw turned on, it will be cached on app startup, so you'll just have to kill the app and restart it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought you could just turn the setting off and then.
No, and it's on for the whole device. You don't turn it on for a particular app. You turn it on for the device. If it's not working for certain apps, it's because they're not using the hardware accelerated rendering framework. They must explicitly be turning it off somehow. Well, somehow, but turning it off. So that's when the only time you wouldn't see the overdraw stuff. But yeah, you need to just kill the app, turn it on, run the app if you want to do, then turn it off, kill the app again, and you're good.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I was just doing a hard boot or reboot.
That would certainly do it as well.
I'm wondering if maybe there was some misunderstanding on what the set app for debugging setting was for. I mean, I assume that was more just for connecting up to an ADB debugger when you run the device. I don't know. Have you? I've never actually used that setting. Have you guys used it?
In the manifest, turning debuggable on and off.
No, there's a thing in the debug.
Oh, yes. Which app is going to be debugged? Yeah, I saw that as well. And
I've not used that.
I mean, I don't think that's for targeting. Right. I don't think it's for targeting these on-device diagnostics. I think that's for specifically what the remote debugger is going to attach to on your device. Like you're specifically trying to debug an app you're writing, I assume.
Yeah, like by default it says no debug application set, but you can choose only from a small list of applications.
I'm guessing apps that have Android debuggable equals true in the manifest.
Oh, that's probably true, because the app I'm working on is debug true. So
it lets you debug apps that you haven't written yourself, maybe.
Possibly.
But
I don't know. I have to ping Roman and someone will find out. Yeah.
Well, look in the source code, see what that does.
Yeah.
I'll look in the source code.
Use the source.
Oh, I just had a question. I know from reading on a lot of different blogs, they say that the MMS, SMS content provider is not really open source, or it's not really publicly available.
Not documented, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can't really rely on that being a way to grab things like MMS or SMS saved on your phone, is there an alternative, or is that sort of the only way to go about it?
Correct.
Okay. And
there's documented APIs for SMS and MS. There's documented APIs for the kind of incoming and stuff, so you can register for the incoming ones and process those. But as for the actual content provider, it's much like Calendar used to be pre-ICS. They're undocumented, but they're in the code, so you use it at risk.
Yeah, no, I'm using it at my own risk. So I'm wondering, like, how frequently does that kind of get updated? I heard like the paths of the MMS, SMS, DB is different on different devices. I don't know if that's
the whole point, right?
true.
It's not documented, so it could and probably has changed at any point.
Manufacturers do their own customizations.
So how manufacturers can change that path
if they wish to.
They're free to change it. It's not documented yet.
So the only way to really feel comfortable about using it is to test it on a lot of different manufacturers.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, read new SMSs coming in. Just start from the current time and build up your SMS from now, but trying to read all the previous SMSs and do things with those, then it's not a happy place to be.
Yeah. I'm wondering, is there a way to like emulate different manufacturer phones?
No.
No. Yeah.
No, I mean, Samsung have
buy a bunch of phones?
testing online service. Samsung Developer, what's it called? Maybe just called Samsung Developer. You can use devices there online and check them out, things like that.
So like TestDroid?
Yeah, you can try it on TestDroid, get access to some devices.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you may test it on one device and then a firmware update will apply on that device and it will change the SMS app, and it's going to be a tricky thing to maintain.
Kind of scary.
Yes. Yeah, I would try and avoid the need to read all the previous SMSs if possible.
Okay, we're just about out of time, so unless there's any burning questions that people would like to ask right now.
Well, I have a burning question for a friend, which raised the question in the moderator. He's trying to achieve something like AirPlay on Android, where he wants to play audio from his device on like a server. He simply implements it himself. So like the Bluetooth standard, which kind of overrides the audio output to any device listening on Bluetooth as well. Is there any way or indication, or does anybody know about initiatives about playing via Wi-Fi Direct, or?
I don't quite understand the question. So you want to redirect all sound output away from the phone to another audio sync?
Yeah.
I doubt you can do that via an app.
Yeah.
You can do it if you're using the Bluetooth headsets. Basically,
headsets. I would look at the Bluetooth code and see what's going on there, but you'll probably find there's something secure in there.
Yeah, that's true.
on Jelly Bean you cannot reroute all the audio, but you can if you switch your phone to mode in communication, then it will think you're in a call. So basically, all the input and output voices or audio will go through the headsets.
Okay. Yeah, but still, it needs to be. He wants to redirect the audio, so.
Yeah, he'd have to do his own audio player.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not have to. That's probably where I'd start. Have a look in the source, and if it is secure.
Yeah.
There's a DLNA app. It's called Bubble DNA. I'm pretty sure it's
Bubble DNA.
So have a look at that. Try and look at the source, because that does pretty much what you're asking.
Okay. I know they use their custom media player, though, right? They use their own media player.
Yeah, they do, but they do all the network stuff as well. So it's
Okay. Right, great, Grace. Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, and we will see you same time next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
2013.